So, just to recap, we have vocals, drums, bass, guitar, unplugged, and effects. So that covers the 6 CLA Signature Series plugins for today. So I really thank everyone for coming out, and I think I've covered every aspect of the plugins to show you guys. And I think it's really worth getting a demo and trying these. I think they're really going to be effective on all your mixing needs, because literally it's taking a single plug-in for your instruments. So again, I thank you all for coming, and if you guys have any questions, hit me. You're welcome. So anyone have any questions? I'll take this first hand I saw first.
Hey, what's the, thanks a lot, by the way, for breaking down your process. It's really informative. What's the delay on these for the native users?
The delay for,
When you put it on,
The latency?
yeah, latency.
It depends on how many plugins you're running at any given time, but you can compensate by offsets. But you can see they're being shown in Pro Tools. TDM, it'll actually display them and offset them, but you can see the numbers there. 93 milliseconds. I mean 93 samples.
93 samples.
Yeah.
Okay.
So very, very low.
I mean, I think if you put it really simple, I made these future looking. I'm looking at the future, like, you know what? The computers will have the horsepower. We'll get the horsepower, but give me the stuff that's gonna give me all the parts I want. If I can only use 10 today, I'm sure the next computer I can use 20 and 30 and 40, and eventually you'll be able to have it on every single channel and have multiples of it. In a perfect world, I would love for everyone to be able to have an unplugged, an effects one, and a drum or bass one on every channel of their mix, and then it'd be like a dream come true.
Chris, just one quick question.
Sure.
Did they talk to you about the live applications for these at all? Did you guys optimize them for live use?
These are all optimized for live use.
Point is, Waves is doing a lot of things with live, so that you could build mixes in the studio and then take them out live and get the same effect. And these have been optimized. The later series and the earlier Signature Series products are set up to be able to just go into the live rig in multi-rack or sound grid and take that sound from the studio out onto the stage. So I just wanted to bring that up.
The thing about Waves is they take and modify these constantly to make them used for every application. I'm just a creative guy that comes up with the ideas, and they take ideas that are virtually impossible to create now and make them into plugins, and then they make it work live. Which, I mean, I could imagine how great this would be to live, to have this on every channel and instantly have, you know, a little EQ, compression, and reverb for stuff live. It'd be amazing. So they're working that right now and getting the latency to be completely minimal. So I think it's a really good thing. Any other questions? I'll take first hand I saw go back there.
Did you consider incorporating a de-esser into the vocal plugin at all, Chris? Or did you set that aside for...
You know, underneath the hood, there is some light de-essing built in. But the thing is most of my old gear, the distortion, the overdrive, and the compressor acts as a de-esser. So I didn't physically put like a big de-esser, because you know what happens? If I put a heavy de-esser there, you can't get rid of it. So there is minimal de-essing in there, but I wanted to leave that up to the user, because you'd want to de-ess it before you use the plugin.
When you're scrolling through the presets on something like the kick drum application, do they all use the same underlying EQ?
In the preset on the actual preset that says kick, there's already the start point curve.
Right. So when you go through whatever rumbler, smacker, whatever, they're all using the same underlying EQ?
Exactly. And if you want to start from a scratch point, go to cowbell.
Mm-hmm.
If you just want to if your kick drum is already really good, but you kind of just want to use the compression and the overall EQ, you can go to cowbell. But you can scroll through any of them. Mm-hmm. See, those presets are just made as the instant start point. Like, I don't have time to think about it. I know that's going to work. They're like, well, let me try overhead. But yeah, they're definitely there for that. So, next.
These are only RTAS right now, right? Why aren't they TDM only? If you're trying to install these on every single track, so to speak.
Here's the thing. There's a limit to the size of a TDM chip. And when they were designed, there's a quick point I'll make if you don't mind, Chris.
No, you're on it, you know.
There you go. When they first designed TDM, they told Waves that it was going to have a certain size capacity. When they actually released it, it was half that large. What that made, and it was a short amount of time, it meant that Waves and many others had to go back and completely rewrite those plugins to make them small enough to fit on that chip because you couldn't migrate over multiple chips. When they did that, they learned a lot about making a chip very, very efficient and very tight in terms of resource demand. So, with these plugins, they've taken that advantage and built something that's so big that you cannot put it on a TDM chip, so it has to be native. Native gives you floating point, and it gives you the access to multiple processors in the case of a multi-core machine. So it's really impossible to do this any other way. And it's not been done by anybody else in this way, because underneath what Chris is talking about, it isn't just TS and 1176 and this reverb and that delay. There are components that he takes from one thing and another, and they put them together. They custom build them. Some of the distortions, some of these other things are actually aggregates of things, but it's not any one specific thing. I like that Pultec curve. I like that, you know. So that's why it has to be on a native and not on a TDM.
And you know, we actually tried to see if we could squeak it on there, but it wasn't anything that you'd want to buy. It was too much of a compromise to try to squeak it onto a chip.
These are very large processors. If you think about what's happening with this process, it's gone from a room full of very, very expensive items to something that's very affordable and unbelievably powerful. And to get all that to happen, it only had one place to go. It couldn't go into the
The first revision I had, you could run one on a second. The first Dream one came in, and we could run one on a big computer. And it took so many revisions to get it down to a reasonable size where I knew the future of computing is going to make it happen. I don't want to invent something that's already dated. If I make it work on a small scale, the small scale's over. I want it to sound good and be cool and something you want to use forever. So, any other questions?
I have another question. When you got started, was your focus to become a mixer, or were you a musician first and you were doing production and then you just kind of gravitated towards that? What was your process and your evolution?
The process was, I was a musician. I was 12 years old. I just wanted to be in a recording studio. I just wanted to be around all of it. I was in a musical family. So, I mean, the transition was from musician and assistant, engineer, producer for many, many years. And then mixing became the thing that no one could do. No one could mix. The engineer would mix it. And then basically Bob Clearmountain invented being a mixer, him and Andy Wallace, and then I realized, well, that's the most important part after the producer is the fresh ears mixing the song. That's it's like that's the brass ring. I mean, that's the whole thing. Because you are the producer, you're everything rolled into one, because you're finishing it off, so.
Do you play mostly on some of your mixes, or does it depend on what's lacking?
I only play on the records if it absolutely needs it. And a lot of times it's replacing a part that the sound was so bad I just redid it. But I generally don't play anybody's records. If I do, I like to let them know. Well, not that I want to credit at all. I don't want to credit at all. But sometimes, I mean, he knows. Sometimes I'm just like, this needs this string part redone. Or this just needs a piano part here. Or you know what, this needs a part from their other song flowing on top of it. So that's it. Any other questions?
Did the compressors use serial compression in the plugins, or is it a single compressor?
Serial compression. No.
Yeah,
like Chris Lord-Alge style.
My style is
You're talking about multi cascading?
In series, yeah, running compressors in series,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
in an 1176 and LA3.
Yeah. My series is always EQ, compressor, then effects pan off of that.
Mm-hmm.
So the effects don't get compressed with it. They're just the byproduct after it. Over here?
I just wanted to thank you for showing us these plugins and also the ones, your compressors.
Well,
Wow.
thanks. You like those?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, those are incorporated in here, and like they're definitely made to work all together. You know?
Yeah, I kind of heard, I think you did one that you just put the compression, and I was hearing some of that character in there, so it's kind of cool to see that in this product as well. It's really
those compressors are under the hood for sure.
Yeah. Cool.
Because, I mean, it's all part of my grand scheme of the plugin, so.
Cool.
Anybody else?
Do the EQs do subtractive as well?
Yes.
And then what about like
See, the 0 point, right? Right with the 0 point, that's 0, so you can just pull them down.
So what about the reverbs and the delays? What does it do when you pull them down?
That just, they go off.
Okay.
The 0 point is where, the 0 point for the EQs is null. The 0 point for all the reverbs and effects is where I would put it. It's like, that would be my start point, and it's just plus or minus my taste. If you pull them all the way down, they basically go off. You might as well just shut them off. But yeah, I made it so it's, the plus and minus for all the effects are my taste. And at the max I would go, or the minimal I would go. And it's like, if you just put them all in a straight line, it's kind of the vibe I would go for. So it's like you're exactly getting the effect I would put on a vocal. When I made that, exactly the same. That's my start point. So it's kind of cool. Kind of helpful. Anybody else?
Does this mean you're using a lot of your outboard gear less now?
No, I mean, I still work the same way, but I build things in more. A lot of the things I took for granted, because I get recordings that need this plugin right away. So a lot of times I will build this in, and then I'll use my things, but I can end up using less and tying up less gear, because I can build the things into the tape. I really designed, I mean, these plugins are really designed to people that don't have any gear. So I made it so I can make a mix in the box with this, and it emulates what I do with all my gear. That's really the solver.
You're still using a 3348, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so how do you bounce all that stuff into tape?
It's all digital, yeah.
And then how's that process?
It's a simple process. Pro Tools,
Yeah.
bust digitally, 48 digital outputs, right to tape, and comp it that way. But it's the main reason is I love the feel of tape. I love the way the machine sounds, and I have a finished master that goes in a box that when I put it back up, it's the exact same place I left it. And it just, it's my style, it's my thing. And I just love the feel of it, and it gives me a finite amount of tracks, no matter what comes in. Any more questions this evening?
When's your brother gonna make one?
A plugin?
Yeah.
Well, his plugin's going to be more about making cocktails, I think, than he has the vodka plugin. Him and Waves are still on his boat right now, designing the drink one. His might be a little bit more R-rated than mine, but right now he has his own ideas for plugins, and they're going to be working with Waves together, and maybe possibly do a joint plugin. Anybody else? All right. Well, look, I thank you all for coming this evening out here to Mix LA to my studio tonight. I'll be bidding you adieu here shortly. We'll be pulling these speakers out of here and heading out for our evening, and we'll be having more of these events in the future. And like I say, take advantage of the prices. Take advantage of these plugins. My one thing, if you could tell everyone that's in this business to do one thing for me, and it's not about anything else, but don't steal plugins, okay? If you could just do one thing. You know what? Everything in that room, every piece of gear, every dream that I've had, and everything I've done with hard work and earned every dime to pay for it. And you know what? When people steal music, and they steal plugins, and they steal shit, it's fucking stealing, and it's not cool. And you know what? I make this stuff for you guys because I know that you want it. And if you want to get a discount price, take advantage of it. But you know what? Pass it on to the next generation of you guys. If people keep stealing, this is all going to end. We're not going to have any more fun. We're not going to have parties. I want you guys to have fun with me. I want you to jam and us have fun, make music. Please, if a guy gives you a crack of a plugin, say, dude, I just want to buy it. I want to be honest about this stuff. You know what? I've never used a stolen plugin, and I never will. You know what? If I can't earn it, I will borrow it. And I'll use what I have. But that's the only thing I will preach to you all tonight, is let's keep it honest, and let's let these guys keep developing stuff, and we'll do our best to keep the price point affordable and come up with great stuff for you guys, okay? So those are the words I'll bid you with tonight, is let's be honest, because the music business has taken such a hit because of backdoor stealing that we're lucky we even have jobs anymore. So let's leave it on a somber note and say...